Moments that change the course of history are often written not just by sword strikes, but by the ruthless rules of nature, geography, and logistics. Today on The Nameless Voice of History, we reach out to that massive test the greatest military power of the 16th century faced in the heart of Europe. The year is 1529. The Ottoman army under the command of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent is advancing west to redraw the political map of the continent. However, what awaited them before the walls of Vienna was not only steel-armored defenders. It would be nature itself, which draws the borders of empires. Chapter 1. Strategic Rupture and the Hungarian. Not to understand the First Siege of Vienna, it is necessary to rewind time 3 years back to the 1526 Battle of Mohacs. The Ottoman army's destruction of the Hungarian kingdom in as short a time as 2 hours had created a huge power vacuum in Europe. Sultan Suleiman filled this vacuum by placing his protege, the voivode of Transylvania, John Zapolia, Janos, on the throne. But the ambitious representative of the Habsburg dynasty, Austrian Archduke Ferdinand, claimed rights to the Hungarian throne and occupied Buda. For the Ottoman Empire, this situation was not a simple border violation, but a direct challenge made to the central authority. The main purpose of the 1529 campaign was not purely to conquer a city, but to draw Ferdinand's army into a pitched battle and destroy it, and to permanently secure the Hungarian buffer zone. Chapter 2. Logistical Disaster and the Giants Stuck in Mud. On May 10, 1529, a colossal army of approximately 120,000 people moved from Istanbul. However, the fate of the campaign would be determined by meteorological conditions rather than the strategies of the commanders. The year 1529 witnessed one of the wettest summers recorded in European history. Ceaseless downpours turned the Balkan geography and Central European roads into impassable swamps. These severe climate conditions dealt a deadly blow to the army's logistical backbone. The massive Baliamez siege cannons, planned to destroy Vienna's thick walls, got stuck in the mud. In order for the advance not to stop, these strategic weapons had to be left behind or sunk into the Danube River. When the army reached the outskirts of Vienna in late September, it lacked the heavy firepower essential for the siege. Chapter 3. Scorched earth and cold-blooded defense. As the Ottoman army approached, Archduke Ferdinand had already abandoned the capital. The defense of the city was left to the 70-year-old German commander Count Nicholas von Somme, who was versed in all the ruthlessness of the art of war. Count Somme adopted a strict defense doctrine far removed from sentimentality. In order to prevent the Ottoman army from finding provisions and taking cover when they besieged the city, he ruthlessly had all the suburbs, villages, and settlements outside Vienna's walls set on fire and destroyed. The city virtually closed in on itself against the approaching enormous power and turned into an isolated fortress. Chapter 4. Fortification warfare and the terror underground. Deprived of heavy artillery support, the Ottoman command echelon, under the guidance of Pergali Ibrahim Pasha, turned to an alternative strategy: mine warfare. Engineers and workers belonging to the Corps of Sappers, Lejimsai Okajai, started digging tunnels from underground to reach the foundations of the walls and blow them up with huge gunpowder barrels. However, the Viennese defenders were prepared for this tactic. By watching the vibrations on the surface of water-filled barrels placed in cellars, they determined the direction of the Ottoman tunnels and dug counter-tunnels. The most terrifying moments of the siege witnessed hand-to-hand combat fought with pickaxes and daggers in narrow tunnels illuminated by torchlight meters underground. Chapter 5. The Breath of Winter and the Strategic Decision. With the entry into October, the Ottoman army faced nature's second and harshest blow. Freezing cold and snowfall set in much earlier than expected. In the military camp, which was not equipped for winter conditions, epidemic diseases and cold-related casualties increased rapidly. In the middle of October, the last and most violent assaults were carried out against the breaches opened in the walls. However, German and Spanish pikemen defended the open breaches with a rare discipline. Seeing that the prolonging siege would endanger the main backbone of the army, Sultan Suleiman and his general staff made a strategic decision to retreat. On October 15th, the siege was lifted. Conclusion. The return journey turned into a grueling struggle for survival that caused the army to suffer great losses. Although the First Siege of Vienna is recorded in European historiography as the first major halt of the Ottomans, it carries a different meaning in a broad strategic framework. The Ottoman Empire secured Hungary, removed Ferdinand's army from the region, and achieved its political goal. However, what happened before Vienna engraved in history with a definitive language the logistical limits, operational range, and impassable walls of nature for an Istanbul-based land army with 16th-century technology.